Hatred could be seen in her expressions. In spite of being restrained by 3 of the men, she continued to struggle to strike those before her. At times she screamed and howled like a dog. She repeated, "Put away that shit," or "Stop with that shit," referring to the holy water. The first session lasted over 3.5 hours. Later, when asked what she experienced, Anneliese stated that she was fully aware of her actions, but was like one in the background, just looking on with no influence on her actions. She stated that the demons were using her voice, and that she was just a spectator, without any control of what she was doing. Father Renz explained that sometimes it seemed like someone was shaking Anneliese, or that it was like she was jerked from behind. Since Father Renz was too busy praying the Latin prayers, sprinkling the holy water, etc., all according to the Roman ritual, beginning at the second session, the exorcism sessions were tape recorded. All those present were convinced of Anneliese's possession, and placed their hopes in the exorcism sessions to free her. The words of the 67 exorcism sessions over the next 10 months filled 42 audio tapes. The following is a brief excerpt of these tape sessions. Six demons revealed themselves over time: Judas, Lucifer, Cain, Hitler, Nero, and a fallen priest by the name of Fleshman. They discussed the goings-on within the church, everyday events, and argued among themselves. According to the words from Anneliese, sometimes Padre Pio, Teresa Neumann, and the German mystic Barbara Wiegand were present. On one occasion, Father Renz brought in 3 unmarked glasses of water. One contained holy water from Lourdes, one from San Damiano, and the other tap water. Upon picking up the San Damiano water, she stated, "Samiano shit water," and only drank the tap water. Anneliese once stated, "I can speak any language, but feel free to speak to me in German." On another occasion, Father Renz, who normally read the Latin prayers from a book, began to speak in Latin without his book. Anneliese immediately corrected him and told him that his Latin was poor. Father Renz and Father Alt were also amazed at Anneliese's responses to questions asked in Dutch and Chinese. Father Renz had been a missionary in China for over 15 years. The demons could be identified by the way they spoke, the tones of their voices, and their expressions. Lucifer stated, "The pretentious one is possessed. I will not let her free. The snotty slut is ours. You must pray much more. This affair will last at least a half a year. She was cursed from the beginning. She was cursed before birth. The other one of that village where the curse took place was an envious woman, that woman from your mother's village." Father Roderick and Father Habegar came for the session of October 6, 1975. Father Habegar was so disturbed by what he witnessed that he asked Father Roderick if the demons could kill Anneliese. On one occasion, Lucifer stated that he would strangle the snot-nose. Outside of the exorcism sessions, the periods of crisis, Anneliese continued to study and appeared to live a normal life. During the exorcism sessions, Anneliese often felt the presence of the Blessed Virgin Mary, various saints, and deceased relatives. On October 13th, the anniversary of Our Lady of Fatima, a change occurred. According to Anneliese, the Blessed Virgin Mary began to communicate to her directly. She was instructed to record what she was told and report this to Father Renz. She began to keep a diary. From her diary entry of October 13, 1975, we read, "Mother of God, you will often receive inspirations of this kind from me. Things will not always be easy for you. tell this to Father Arnold. Remember, he is your spiritual advisor. Anneliese described these inspirations or messages as, she does not see or hear, but is given to understand and writes as such. There were also diary entries of her Savior. For example, every suffering, even the most commonplace, bears much fruit when united to my suffering. You will suffer a great deal and do penance even now, but your sufferings, your sadness, and desperation will help me save souls. Mother of God, later you will also have visions, if I understood correctly, as compensation for the satanic countenances that I experienced in the past and continue to see. I am not sure if this was not something Satan deluded me with. Diary entry of November 10th, 1975. You will pass all your tests, but you are going to be called upon to undergo tests of a different kind. I will give you my grace. You will be true until death. The exorcism sessions of November and December 1975 were uneventful. Between her trips home, Anneliese worked on her thesis. In early 1976, the sessions became shorter and less eventful. From late February on, the demons had nothing to say. They only made inhumane sounds as Anneliese's body jerked like a rag doll. In March 1976, at the beginning of Lent, Anneliese made a couple of attempts to go home for the weekend, but could not as her body became stiff and she was quite ill. She became so heavy that several men could not lift her into the car. Meanwhile, she was able to work on her thesis. At Anneliese's request, Thea Hein came for a visit. Anneliese attempted to make Thea promise not to let anyone call a physician on her behalf. Anneliese had a deep fear of being found mentally unstable and sent to a mental institution. In April, Anneliese told Father Alt that May and June were going to be difficult months, but July would bring a resolution to her condition. On April 14th, Anneliese met with Dr. Veth to discuss her thesis. On Holy Thursday evening, 1976, Anneliese went to church to pray. She had barely began when she began to sweat profusely. It was late before she made it back to her room. She spent the night on the floor, unable to sleep. She spent Good Friday morning before the altar. After Good Friday services concluded, she remained in the church. Several hours later, a friend found her with her eyes closed, holding a prayer book in a trance-like state. Later, she returned with Peter and found Anneliese in the same position. Anneliese didn't respond to Peter's questions, and it was close to midnight before Peter and Anneliese made their way home. Anneliese explained to Peter all that had happened, and how she now had an idea of what Jesus had suffered during his passion. Anneliese's condition worsened. It was agreed, too, that Anneliese stay for a while at Edelben, where Father Alt was pastor. Anneliese could work on her theses, and Father Alt would be close by if needed. At times, Anneliese moaned and screamed for hours. She would not eat and slept on the floor. While in Edelman, Anneliese stated to Father Alt very seriously, "I know now what will happen. I know that this coming summer will be hard and terrible, and I know I will not survive. No one can tell me any different. I will not survive." When Anneliese was not afflicted, she was cheerful and a joy to be around. One minute she could